Well, we got the second weekend. And to be honest, I think that all the things we've kind of been talking about over the past week, we're still seeing it after the second weekend. Superman coming out with an okay opening weekend domestically, that 125 million, certainly not blowing the lid off anything, but okay. But with some rather soft international numbers, Superman had a great hold throughout the week and a solid hold over the weekend. And now we get this headline: Superman flexes impressive staying power, flies past $400 million globally. And I think the most impressive thing that we've seen box office from this movie were the weekday holds that it had. Like the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday numbers were really good. Over the weekend, didn't hold quite as well as something like Guardians 3 or The Batman, about a 54% drop. More on par with the Thunderbolts kind of 56% drop, right in that area. But the one thing that we have to continue to talk about is what we have been talking about the past week. And regardless of how many people want to ignore it or make excuses, the international box office returns are extremely low for this movie. And it remains that way. As you can see, pretty big difference. You've got about a, $60-70 million difference. I think the international box office numbers actually came in a little higher than this, so probably closer to 170 international for like 405 worldwide, but a pretty big discrepancy there. And the reason that's important is because we can compare this movie, Jay, right, to a couple other ones. I think two of the best ones to compare it to as of recently are The Batman, a well-received DC movie that had a pretty strong hold, and Guardians of the Galaxy 3, a pretty well-received James Gunn Marvel movie that had a pretty strong second weekend hold. And you can look at how these do stack up. So 54% drop for Superman, open at 125, 54% drop. The Batman opened a little higher, 134, had a slightly better second weekend hold at about 50% drop. Guardians, little lower opening, but a better hold, 48% drop. And you look at these numbers, you say that's right around there. 214 million through 2 weekends for Guardians, 239 million through 2 weekends for Superman, or for the Batman, and then 235 through 2 weekends domestically for Superman. The difference is these international numbers are vastly fucking different. And I can show you why. Around 400 million globally for Superman through 2 weekends. Put that in perspective, the Batman in the same given time period, $463 million. Guardians through that same time period, $530 million globally. So we're starting to see why that matters and why we've been talking about how that matters. And look, if it tracks similarly to those movies, and this is without taking into account it's losing its IMAX screens. This is without saying maybe it just has an even better hold than we thought, without saying, well, Fantastic Four is coming. That's a lot of direct competition. Regardless of all that, if it tracks similar to those two movies through the next, several weeks, you would end up with something in like the $640 million range finale. Now, a lot of other factors are obviously at play, but that's why I've been talking about this idea of this movie blowing up. It's not possible with the international numbers the way that they are. And it might not even make enough to break even theatrically.
Now, then they have some major competition coming up this weekend as well. So that's just going to put a big stop on if it had a little momentum, it's not going to do very well again this weekend. I mean, we're looking at maybe 500-600 total worldwide.
Look, it is 6. I wish people would stop saying 5 because I think that the movie is going to have no problem getting past 5. I think 600 million is that kind of range where it's going to be 600, maybe a little more, something like that. I think 700, it would have to hold. Again, it would have to have better holds throughout its life than incredibly better holds than the Batman and Guardians. And I just don't see that happening. I think they're going to be comparable holds. They've been comparable so far. But the problem is the international numbers are significantly lower. So you're behind on your starting point. But the idea of it not making 5, I don't think that that's reasonable based on the relatively good word of mouth and hold that it's had already. So I see a lot of people saying it won't make it past 5. I think it will. fairly
Yeah, that's
easily.
why I asked. So you can break it
600
down.
600 is like, I think maybe like where 625. That's kind of where I view the movie ending up. 630, 640, somewhere around there, which is less
So
than Man of Steel,
so
which is
far
less
so
than
good.
which is less than 700 million, which according to the numbers they gave us would be around the break even point, 700 million. That's not factoring in what we know is more expensive marketing, more expensive budget, all that stuff. Just using the numbers they gave us, 700 mil is basically the break even point.
The prediction is still holding true that Jurassic World Rebirth will win July box office, unless Fantastic Four blows everyone out of the water.
I don't see any way Fantastic Four makes like $1 billion or something.
Yeah.
But we'll have to pay very close attention this weekend because Fantastic Four. I saw some bullshit that came out where it was
Did
like,
you see this? Hold on. I'm going to send it to your DMs. Are you able to look at it real quick?
sure.
This just dropped from Variety. Is this the same? This is the same stuff that he said to Rolling Stone that we already went over. James Gunn talking about anti-American sentiment around the world right now is not helping Superman at the global box office. And we knew that was going to be the issue. Like eventually they were going to blame the president for terrible box office performance. So we predicted it. I knew it was going to basically saying it's Trump's fault. That's what he's saying. So this is new, right? This is a brand new
thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Now I do not like the arguments about, look, the reason that we started talking about the immigrant thing and all of that stuff was because of James Gunn's interviews in the first place.
Correct.
That's the reason people said that about a week before it came out. Watching the movie, I don't think that that's a problem with the movie. I don't think that there's look at this messaging and that. I don't think that's the problem with the movie at all. I wouldn't describe the movie as well. I just wouldn't. There are some people who have like doubled down on that even after watching the movie. I don't consider myself one of them, but I don't think those are most of the complaints about it. I want to get into the kindness thing, blah, 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 an American value. That was an American value, was kindness. And it doesn't necessarily seem to be that way to me anymore. So that was the center of the movie for me. It wasn't about anything other than that. I want to get to what you were talking about.
Yeah, that was just on the Twitter quote that I sent over.
We're definitely performing better domestically than we are internationally, but internationally is also rising. We're having really good weekday numbers in the same way we are, he said in a separate interview with Rolling Stone. So obviously the word of mouth is very positive here and everywhere else, which is the thing we needed to do the most. Not make money, have good word of mouth. At the same time, there are certain countries in which it's really performing well. Brazil and the UK. UK had a solid second weekend. Brazil is doing well in Latin America. Superman is not a known commodity in some places. He's not a big known superhero in some places like Batman is. That affects things. And it also affects things that we have a certain amount of anti-American sentiment around the world right now. It isn't really helping us. So I think it's just a matter of letting something grow. But again, for us, everything's been a total win. Yeah, everything's been a total win, which is why we've been desperately trying to spin our poor international numbers for the past 2 weeks. Everything's been a total win. We promise, guys. We'll be happy if it makes $500 million. It's a total win. This is them trying to excuse away poor international numbers. They have been very solid domestically, and I do think there's a chance this thing goes on to make $350 million domestically. Internationally, they might have a tough time getting to 250. And that's the reality. And that's where you're seeing this fucking cope. This is what they're trying to do. And the idea that you're saying, well, everyone hates America, which is why Superman's not performing well.
How do you say that?
What is it? Do they not know who he is? Do they not know who Superman is? He's not a known quantity. Or do they know exactly who he is and they hate America? Fucking pick one of your excuses.
I agree. I think that's a stupid statement to say that people don't know who Superman is. That's what I'm saying. I think that's some major cope. He might not be as popular as Batman in certain areas, but I don't think people don't know who he is. That character's been around forever, man. For absolute ever. Interesting.
Yeah, this is spin.
He should have just said
Making
Trump's the
excuses.
reason.
Like, that's what they're doing. 100% that's what this is. We're happy with everything, though. We promise.
Who's Superman again? I never really heard of him.
If this movie makes $600 million, right? That is not a total massive flop, whatever. It is a massive disappointment, right? A movie that's not going to break even theatrically. A movie that made less than fucking Man of Steel did 12 years ago, right? You just did all of this stuff, and now you're not even making that type of money anymore. Like, if you only make 600 mil worldwide from this, it is going to be considered a massive disappointment internally and from everyone else, despite whatever way they try to fucking spin it. We'll see what happens.